Welcome to episode 467 of the DFO Rundown, as always brought to you by Bet365. Hockey fans, check out Bet365's 3-goal early playout. When your team goes up by 3, you get paid. It's that simple. Download the app. Must be 18 plus. Please play responsibly. They got it for baseball, 5 runs, basketball, 15 points. Where if you feel confident in a team, you can get paid out regardless of the outcome. If you're a Wild fan, I might have made game 6 a little bit better for you, or game 5, I should say. So I'm Jason Gregor alongside Jeff Merrick. As we know, 3 of the 4 teams, but luckily we get a game 7 Monday night in Buffalo. It'll be the Canadiens and the Sabres. And I don't know if you think Montreal should be the favorite, even though they're on the road, because the road teams have absolutely dominated this series.
And the beer swords are back too, Jason. Did you notice that? They put that announcement out. The beer swords have returned, selling them before the game. So we'll see what the ticket is on that one. Honestly, I don't know the favorite at this point. Like when you have a series, the likes of which we just saw between the Buffalo Sabres and the Montreal Canadiens, and make no mistake about it, the lion's share of fans that went to the Bell Center on Saturday night weren't there to see a game. They were there to see a coronation. The Montreal Canadiens were going to be given the crown and head off to the conference final against the Carolina Hurricanes. But of course, the Buffalo Sabres had something to say about it. I don't know. And these make for the most fun games. You know, I remember talking to a producer at HBO Sports once about boxing documentaries. And I said, like, you know what? I'm a boxing fan, but not every fight I'm excited for. But then I look at your hype videos. This is like 20 years ago. I look at your hype videos and I have to watch the fight. I have to watch the fight. And I said, like, what's the secret? How do you do it? And he said, I tell all my producers, don't tell me what's going to happen. Only ask the questions. I don't want predictions. I don't want what you think is going to happen. Just raise the questions that the fight is going to answer. So for Buffalo, I can't sit here and I know what's going to happen. We know the road record for these teams and the home record for these teams too. But I kind of think for a game like this, all of that goes out the window. All we can hope for is an exciting game with lead changes and mood swings and emotional shifts throughout the entire thing. And we just hope that it's not a blowout. But I'd be lying to you if I said, "Oh yeah, Montreal's a favorite going into this one," or "Buffalo's got this. They're at home. They got their hometown crowd behind them." I have no clue, and those make the best games. Most fun games.
Yeah, it's interesting. Lindy Ruff's talking about how they're going to try to make it feel like a road situation for their team. So obviously it's in their head, the fact that you're doing that. And they're not the first team who stayed in a hotel for a home game before because they feel that it's going to make them win. Who knows if it's true or not? But you know what? Buffalo was down 3-1 in a game where I thought they were in control. Like really, Montreal scored. I know they changed it afterwards, but it looked like it was 3 goals on 3 shots. And like, you look at a few of those goals, and Alex Lyon just didn't have his game. Like first one went off his glove, second one was deflected. Like he not deflected, but through a screen that I think he should make a save on. And now the Demidov goal he had no chance on. Like that was an unbelievable, absolute bomb of a rocket for him. And you know, he gets scoring. So now he's got some confidence. Jack Quinn scores twice for Buffalo. And you look at his second goal. And if he doesn't score his first goal, he probably doesn't score his second goal. It's amazing how quickly players who can score suddenly can score again once they've scored once. And their confidence comes back. And you just saw it in Jack Quinn in that game. So there's 2 young guys kind of going through the playoffs for the first time and experience it and seeing how it is. And now they've got a big monkey off their back and they can relax, and you know they'll be bigger impact players potentially in game 7. I look at Luukkonen obviously is going to be the starter. I don't think there's any debate on that for Buffalo, but
yes.
Even though we've had lots of high scoring games, historically game 7 is a much tighter game. And so that's probably what's going to come out. This series being pretty high scoring, it's been back and forth. Might just come down to who's the most disciplined, because penalty kills haven't been great for either team so far in the series. And I just, game 7 does, the winning team at home does have a better percentage. Now, some would argue that's because they're the better team all year. So they should, in theory, have a better percentage of winning. So you add it all together. I think Buffalo's probably a slight favorite, but I don't know who to like in this game. I think both of them are happy that Colorado and Vegas are playing Wednesday. So who's ever the winner gets 1 extra day's rest until they play in Carolina on Thursday. So that's a little bit of a benefit to them. But it's going to be a great game. And it's the only game for a stretch of 4 or 5 days here in the NHL. So everybody's going to be watching. And like, there's nothing better than Game 7, man. They're like, Game 6 was exciting, but you knew there was still tomorrow. Well, there's no tomorrow in Game 7. That's what I love about it.
So Larry Robinson opens it up. Like, one of the great traditions now here is like, okay, which ex-Montreal Canadian is going to carry the torch? And there's Larry. You know, I've long maintained that we don't talk about Larry Robinson enough, about being one of like the greatest defensemen of all time. Like, I still think we still don't talk about how fantastic he was as a defender. And he was that combination of skill and toughness. And like, he didn't have to do it very often. We all think of the Dave Schultz fight that ended the myth of Dave Schultz, but like, he would like settle a score really fast physically. And he played on, you know, probably the best blue line the NHL has ever seen with that 1970s Montreal Canadiens squad. And the star of the show in the game on Saturday was a defenseman as well, and it was Rasmus Dahlin. And so I was thinking about this, like, Griggs, you have a good historical perspective on a lot of things here. There's a couple of things I'm really thinking about around Rasmus Dahlin. Like, what makes him so unique? He's highly skilled. That's not unique. There's a lot of highly skilled defensemen in the NHL, as we all know. But he has the ability, unlike very few other defensemen, I would submit through history. There have been some nasty ones. Eddie Shore might be top of the list. But to have that sort of pest factor to them, like, players hate playing against Rasmus Dahlin. He brings out the violence in players, right? Remember this year, Brad Marchand tearing up his helmet in the penalty box. Rasmus Dahlin driving Brad Marchand to that of an extreme. And then with Dobish on Saturday, there's Rasmus Dahlin getting into it with the goaltender, and he gets chopped and he draws a penalty. I don't know that we've seen a defenseman like this, who has that, because we've seen a lot of skilled defensemen. Just go like do a little roll call in your head right now, everybody. A lot of skilled defensemen, a lot of tough defensemen. Have we ever seen a defenseman like this that is that skilled and that much of a pest at the same time? That'll drive you to destruction. That's normally the bailiwick of the forwards, right? Going back to, you know, the Ken Linsman, you know, you think of as one of the Dennis Polonich. There's another one. Like, this has a historical precedent to it, but only for forwards. We don't really see this with defensemen. Like, we're seeing something pretty unique here, Jason, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Well, Pronger wasn't a pest. He was just mean.
He's tough and mean and dirty. Yeah, but like, guys go out of their way to try to kill Dahlin. Like, no one went out of their way to confront Pronger. I assure you.
No, it's true. He's a little jerk. Chris Chelios to a point maybe did it at times,
sort of
in his career. Hey, I always wonder, you know, a little bit. Dahlin is very sneaky cheap. And cheap to me that's not a negative, but he is sneaky cheap. You watch him behind the plays, likes to give guys shots here and there. And I like it. He plays with a little bit of an edge to his game. He's obviously very skilled at the same time. And so definitely in today's game, I'm trying to think of back to like top defensemen over a history of time. And, you know, Nick Lidstrom is probably maybe the classiest defenseman the league's ever seen. You know, and there's Coffey and Bobby Orr. Jean
Beliveau was a defense. He was tough.
Yeah.
Orr was tough. Yes.
Yeah, he was tough. But he wasn't like cheap. Chris Chelios at times, maybe, you know, Drew Doughty, but Doughty was more so like he just liked to get in your face and was really competitive, right?
He's not
Duncan
like poke
Keith.
Behind the knees. He poke behind the knees. Like, that's like Rasmus Dahlin, man. Like, no one's like this. I've been thinking about this ever since. No, not at all. Like, we're seeing something completely unique here. Like, you mentioned Nick Lidstrom, and I always say, like, well, if Jean Beliveau were a defenseman, he would be Nick Lidstrom. Like, that command, that presence, the class, like all of it. I just think we're seeing something really special here in Rasmus Dahlin, that we've never seen a defenseman like this, with that level of skill that can draw the ire. Like, everybody on the ice wants to take runs at him. Everybody, and he's getting Norris votes. Who does this?
Yeah.
Who Who does this?
And on another Buffalo angle, what do you think the playoffs, if anything, have done to Alex Tuch's free agents demands?
Not good. Not good. Not good. Just to be blunt, not good. But here's the thing. He's got his number. He wants the Adrian Kempe contract. I know that there's the emotional lure to stay in Buffalo. It's a successful team. It's the playoffs. You know, the local state guy story always plays well in any market. He's talked about how, you know, emotionally attached he is to this team. Yet at the same time, the realities of the business of hockey tend to get in the way of your heart sometimes. But has he done himself any favors in these playoffs? No, I don't think so. Do you disagree? Because I don't think these playoffs have helped them.
Yeah. Like when I look at it, I always thought 10 million, and I like Tuch, but I thought I never really understood why some people are like, oh no, he should get that. I know he's the same age as Kempe, but you look at their numbers, and you know they're pretty close. But
playoffs are different. Playoffs are different, though. Playoffs are different.
Oh, playoffs are way different. Kempe's almost a point a game player, and Tuch's a half a point a game player. So to me, I don't, you know, and then I do look at, like, you know, Kempe's 3 best years are his last 3 years, 75, 73 points, pretty consistent. You know, Tuch did have 79 once, but since then it's 59, 67, 66. Good. But just to me, a little bit below it. You know, he's 30. He just turned 30. They're both going to be 30 this year, both 1996s. Like, I like Tuch, but this is going to be a test for Buffalo. You want to stay competitive, but man, this is if he wants that much money, I might say, hey, why don't you go check the market? Let's see what the market offers. Because how many top end competitive teams are going to pay Alex Tuch $10 million? Any?
I think we've all wondered about the Oilers. I think we've all wondered about Tuch and the Oilers. How they make that work. How they make all this stuff. I'm just talking about like fit, right? Like, I think we wondered about like Owen Tippett. Like, we've wondered about Alex Tuch. Like, we've wondered like, okay, so what could be the fit here with this team to help get them over that Stanley Cup hump? Cap's going up. If he believes he has that on the market, then what can you do? Like, the only real advantage you have in any negotiation is if you have the power to walk away. If you have the power to walk away, you win every single time. Does he think he has that contract out there somewhere? I don't know. Maybe this is like July 1st. We're talking about him. July 2nd, he resigns.
Yes. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think some teams, and we've seen examples of it, where they've let the player walks around. So old Abe Simpson walks in the front entrance. Okay. Check my hat. I'm out. Right. I saw it. And here we go. Because anybody who's going to make an offer is going to make an offer right away. And then, now there's always the risk there. But if you love Buffalo, and Buffalo says, here, this is our best offer, whatever it is. Right. You know, because it's not just the number, it's also the term, right? Like, I really like Alex Tuch, but you know where I stand on long-term deals. 5 years would be the max for me on players, and he's not an elite player. He's a really good player. He's not an elite player. So I know this is we've got 4 months left of teams being able to offer 8-year deals to a player, right? Like, and we'll get into some guys later on. Younger players, I can live with it, but man, you're 28 or over. Should be 5 years max. Now, I know teams disagree with me, and that's great, but history tells me that it's actually beneficial for both sides if they went to 5 years. And I'm interested in it because this isn't a first time for Tuch in the playoffs. Compared to Adrian Kempe, who's a point-a-game player, Tuch's he's just above a half a point-a-game player in his playoff career.
I'm glad you got us to this place right now on this show, because we sort of talked about this last time, where we talked about teams that have discipline in their contracts. And we talked about how, you know, Carolina and Colorado are perhaps exhibit A and exhibit B of teams that have real discipline in what, like, how much difference between what the team was offering and what Rantanen wanted $500,000. Like when you're that disciplined and you're prepared to walk away from Mikko Rantanen.
But didn't Carolina offer him 14?
You are so efficient. He wasn't going to stay in Carolina. He wasn't. Yeah. There was no money that was gonna make him stay in Carolina. I thought that was actually a really impressive move by Tulsky. There are a lot of managers that would have been like, oh man, my pride is injured here. Like I like that they took a shot and it didn't work, and okay, move on. And they've turned that into Logan Stankoven, Taylor Hall. One of the picks turned into Keandre Miller. Like it's worked out great for the Carolina Hurricanes. But like that's an efficient organization. This is in a lot of ways, Jason. This is which way is Jarmo going to go here? Because the Colorado Avalanche might win the Stanley Cup 1 year after letting go of Mikko Rantanen for Natchez and Drury, essentially.
Yeah.
How disciplined an organization are you? I think this one's going to be fascinating to watch Jarmo Kekalainen through all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to get into some actual contract because I got a list of 5 teams for people. And if I figured out if they can, 4 of them for sure are connected: Anaheim, Chicago, Columbus, and Buffalo. And we're going to get to them a little bit later on. I'll give you 15 minutes as you listen to the pod to try to figure out the connection between them. And I gave it to Jeff, and smoke came out of his ears.
I failed.
Yeah, and
I failed.
And it's a tough one to just randomly throw 4 teams to try to connect the 4: Chicago, Anaheim, Columbus, and Buffalo. So
you might as well. It's like now doing card tricks to dogs. Huh?
Yeah. So it is tough, but we do have a game 7 tomorrow, which is awesome. Last week, Vegas, John Tortorella got a $100,000 fine, and the Vegas Golden Knights were stripped and forfeit their 2nd round pick in the upcoming 2026 NHL entry draft. So here we are. We're recording this on May 17th. The draft is just over a month and a week away. Mm-hmm. And already people are saying, oh, Vegas is going to go to NHL office and they're going to say, oh, we're sorry. And a lot of people are speculating in the media that the NHL is going to lower that and they're not going to have to give up a 2nd rounder. Why? What's the point? Like, if we know that they didn't do the proper media protocols on numerous occasions, why are they suddenly going to rescind it? What's changed? Because they're suddenly going to talk to the media when they're supposed to, like every other team in the NHL?
I like Minnie, and of course I have a hand on the wheel here, a horse in the race, a dog in the fight. All the cliches apply. I think all of us in media are watching this one. Because I think when we saw the fine and we saw them revoking a 2nd round pick, everybody who does this for a living, and let's not forget here, I know that there's a lot of Vegas fans making excuses for or applauding what John Tortorella did. Media, the Latin base of media is medium, which is the middle ground between the principal and the observer, or the hockey player / coach and the fans. And because the team can't talk to every single person individually after every single game, they have something called media who does this on behalf of the fans. You go get the water from the well and you bring it back to the village. That's what media does. It's all done on behalf of getting information to the people who have the nerve to buy your tickets and your jerseys and your hot dogs and your beer. That's who they're doing it for. It's nothing against the media. It just makes the media's job harder to do. And it is a CBA issue, and it's something that a sport like hockey, and rightfully so, takes really seriously. So I think all of us are watching this and saying, let's see how serious the NHL is about their coverage, especially in a market like Vegas specifically.
Yeah, I'm a media partner and I pay billions of dollars, and and your team just won to go to the conference final, and you're not going to make your coach available. You're not going to open up your room. I am pissed. I'm livid. So you know what? You can't have your kid. And I always chuckle at some fans. Oh, we don't really need the media. Really, where are you going to get your information from?
Where are you getting information?
Give me a break. You don't have to like every member of the media. If you dislike individuals, great. I have no problem with that. Fine. But I think you're missing the plot. And you won the game. There was zero reason. You won the game. You won the game handily. There was nothing controversial. And you pick that day. And the other thing, Jeff, this isn't just one. This is cumulative. And I want to say my personal interactions with John Tortorella have been fine. I've never had an issue with Torts. I've seen him in how he acts to other people, right? I don't love it. But my interaction with John, I've never had an issue. But when I saw that, I'm like, what are you doing? What do you mean you're not talking? Like, your team just won. And so basically, you took everything away from your team because barely anybody even focused and talked about the win. They just talked about now everybody the next day is Vegas. Oh, they're getting fined. Now they lost the second round pick. For what?
Massive.
Because you had a petulant little temper tantrum because allegedly you didn't like the McNabb got suspended. Really? Well, then voice your displeasure in the press conference.
Yeah, but then he would probably get fined for it. So pick your fine. I would defer in that case to getting fined for what you said as opposed to just hiding. Look, I've lost on a lot of people too is that, when John Tortorella isn't actively coaching, he does find his way onto panels, and with various rights holders. So there is something, I don't know, is irony too strong a word, too light a word? I don't know. But I think that's a point that people picked up on right away. Well, 5 seconds ago, you were one of us. And now we're getting, the stop sign, the Heisman from you. Like, what gives? If you want to have one foot in each, that's fine. But it wasn't that long ago that you were sitting on a panel during a national game, part of the media. And then this. I do want to say I have a lot of time for John Tortorella, the person. I think John Tortorella, the person, has his heart in the right place. I think that John Tortorella has an incredibly brave son who serves, and that has to be taxing on him and his family. Anyone who loves dogs, and I'm a huge dog guy, anyone who loves dogs and goes out of their way to do what John Tortorella does on behalf of animals has my support every day of the week. But everybody makes mistakes, and this one was a mistake for John. I know he's had his battles with media before. I get it. We've all seen it. Their highlights forever in the NHL. I just think this was obviously the wrong move made by a guy that I do have a lot of time for. I really do.
Yeah. So, hey, bad decision. You move on. Now Vegas takes on Colorado. And, a lot of people have Colorado as a favorite, but I'm going to say this. I think the series is a lot closer for one clear reason. Cale Makar is not 100%. You watch it in games. You're seeing him at times. His burst isn't there. You're seeing it after some collisions and body contact. There's some grimacing. He's battling through it. Obviously, there's some extra days off here, which should help him immensely. But let's be honest here. They're going to be going after him, as they should. Even legally, you're going to hit the guy. You'd hit him anyway, even if he's 100% healthy. But I think and health is the one thing in the playoffs that can shrink a competitive gap or expand it if you're the one team who maybe was a slight favorite and the other team has some key injuries. Like, look at Minnesota. If Brodin and Eriksson Ek are in the series, I still think Colorado wins. Maybe they don't win in 5, right? And maybe they're not able to score 4 straight after trailing 3-0 in the first period. Like, there's certain key guys that when you lose them, it's not an excuse. It's just a fact. Teams don't have the depth to just keep replacing guys. It's hard, right? Because there's a trickle-down effect. Well, okay, maybe one guy can move up, but now everybody's got to move up, and it slowly creates holes in your lineup. And so I watched Makar, I watched Minnesota, and the one thing I came away from, Bill Guerin, he's going to want to get more defensive depth because you can't play Quinn Hughes 34 games in a 60-minute game, 34 minutes in a 60-minute game. Yeah. It's just not good, and it has a cumulative effect. You make some mental mistakes when you're that tired. So you got to get some other defensemen that you feel that, hey, if he's playing 26 or 7, all right, that's what he plays all the time. But 34, it's just too much. And so you got to have some defensemen. If you have somebody in your top 4 get hurt, you feel confident that you can bring in guys into your third pairing who can at least play 10 to 12 minutes, not 4, not 5. So that's, I think, something Minnesota has to look at in the offseason. But meanwhile, the Makar injury, like I know Mark Stone is out, and there's no word or update on it. They did get William Karlsson back, and Jeff,
massive.
He's been a huge addition. Massive addition for them. And Brett Howden's playing out of his mind right now with 8 goals, 3 of them shorthanded to tie the NHL record. So Vegas is an underdog to me, but the Cale Makar injury makes that series closer.
That Karlsson line too, you mentioned Howden, throw Mitch Marner in there as well. Marner's been fantastic playing with someone who's more similar to him than different in William Karlsson. And you can see how Mitch Marner is on a different level in the playoffs. Like there's a massive difference between how Auston Matthews plays and William Karlsson plays, obviously.
Yes.
But what you're seeing here is, and this was always Adam Oates' point, Mitch had to do everything. Mitch had to go fetch the puck, go do this, go do that. And now he has someone who is, when he's healthy, one of the premier two-way centers in the NHL in William Karlsson. And look how great Marner is. Look how great Marner looks, Jason, when he doesn't have to do everything. And he's got someone on his line. One of the great there's a couple of ways I think you can really compliment a hockey player. To me, the greatest compliment you can pay is this player could play in any era. I think that is the best compliment you can pay a hockey player. The other compliment is, does he make the game easy for the players around him? And I know the playoffs aren't easy. We know hockey's not easy. But how much easier is it right now for Mitch Marner playing with William Karlsson? No one's going to say that William Karlsson's a more impactful player than Auston Matthews, clearly. But for Mitch Marner in these playoffs, William Karlsson, you can make the argument, is a much better fit with Mitch Marner than Auston Matthews is, because he makes the game easier to play for someone like Mitch Marner. And look what's happening. Like, if they do this, sorry, every Maple Leafs fan, close your ears. If Vegas does this, would he win the Conn Smythe?
He would definitely get some votes right now. I don't think there's much.
If Vegas does it, honestly, he could.
Yeah.
I know, I just love William Karlsson. I know I'm completely biased here, but the evidence is before all of us. To swing back on the Makar point, so like you, I share the same concerns. And one of the things we always say is, okay, I'll still take 70% of Cale Makar over 100% of anybody else. So if you look at the Vegas blue line, is Cale Makar at 70% still better than Rasmus Anderson or Noah Hannafin or Dylan Coughlin or Shea Theodore or Caden Korzak or Ben Hutton? The answer to these questions is still yes. Here's where it gets, we'll take it even a step further than you presented. Brent Burns is dinged up. Josh Manson is dinged up. Sam Malinsky is dinged up. None of them are as profound as your point about Makar. That's the whopper. But then underneath that initial layer, there's other guys on that blue line that aren't 100%. And Lehkonen too. And Lehkonen's I'm with you. We're looking at this and say, oh, this is a buzzsaw, Colorado Avalanche, collision course, Carolina Hurricanes. I've been guilty of it too. But I ain't going to write off Vegas in this one, because this deep into the playoffs, Colorado's not at 100%, nor should they expect to be at 100%. I don't think it's like the layup that a lot of people think it is. I'm hoping this one's a great series. I really, really do.
Now, on the other side, though, I really favor Carolina, regardless of whether it's Buffalo or Montreal, the way the Hurricanes are going. And obviously, they're going to have the longest stretch between games in playoff history in the modern era with I think it's going to be 11 actual days between games. The last time they had a break of a week, they came out and had a shutout against Philadelphia. I spoke to Taylor Hall on my show. I had a good 25-minute conversation. I asked him about the break, and he says, you know what? We kind of have done the same things. Our practices aren't much different. We do a lot of the same stuff over and over. And he didn't see that in a negative way. He goes, we work on the things that we need to work on to keep you fresh and keep you sharp. And he goes, I don't think it's going to be a big issue. They'd have a day off. He mixes in a little bit of fun, EB and Rod Brindamore. And the other thing was, and you see it in their play, I think Carolina, Taylor Hall said, man, I learned a lot from Florida last year. every time a guy skated by you, like he hit you and not to injure you, but to hurt you, like hard. Mm-hmm. And he's kind of taking it. Now, Hall doesn't have a boatload of hits this year if you look at it from a quantity number. But if you look at quality, he's had some really big, hard hits. And there's quite a few guys in Carolina like that. Like all of a sudden, Jordan Staal has had like a meanness to his game, big, strong human being. And I look at Carolina, and you got team that they're facing coming off of 7 games. I look at that game 1, and the Hurricanes are like, boys, we're rested here. Let's use that to our advantage. And I think it's going to be really tough for either Buffalo or Montreal to get to win 4 games against Carolina.
Even watching that Florida Panthers series, and there was one player specifically who got run out of the buildings, and that was Sebastian Aho. And I just remember watching Matthew Tkachuk skate by him and essentially say, we're going to do this all night and you're not going to do anything about it. Like, we're just doing this all night to you and you're not going to do anything about it. And you know what? Matthew Tkachuk was right. And they did it to Aho all series long. Like, they ran Carolina out of the buildings. And there was nothing that Carolina, like, I'm with you. Like, this is a team that spine has stiffened since that Florida Panthers series, which is why I'm not surprised that Hall mentioned that to you. Glad that he's like so forthright about like, yeah, man, we didn't like getting bullied by the Panthers. Who does? And like, we got to learn, like, we have to be the ones doing that as opposed to the ones that are letting them do that to us. I don't know, man. I love nasty Taylor Hall. I love that edge that Hall's playing with. That goal that he scored in Ottawa when he went by the glass with the cupped ear. I'm like, first of all, that's a veteran. That's a guy that understands the moment, understands how much they hate him, and is just sticking it. Like, at that moment, I said, this is a different Carolina Hurricanes team. This is different, and they'll push back and they'll initiate, or like watching Sean Walker go at Ridley Gregg. And a hit that you could look at and go like, oh man, he could have really hurt Greg there. But it's like the whole team kind of went like, hey, don't worry, a penalty like that, we can kill that off. Like, they're taking penalties of aggression, not penalties of laziness. Those are the ones you can't kill off. Like, Carolina's power or penalty kill was one of the main stories against the Ottawa Senators. How many 5-on-3s did they kill? But they're all killable. You know what it's like, Greg's like, if it's a lazy stick foul, 200 feet from the net, it's like, oh God, we got to kill that one. Oh, those penalties are tough to kill. When you see Walker run from halfway across the ice to get at someone that's got under their entire skin, those are easy to kill off. The guy's like, yeah, we got this. We're killing this one. We got it. Different Hurricanes team, man. Different Hurricanes team. Fun to watch. I know I'm in the minority on that. I know they're an acquired taste, but I really do enjoy watching Carolina play. And that line is insane. Jeez. Just been too long since we saw them play. I want to see them play again.
Yeah. No, well, it is true. That line has been killing it. So whoever takes them on, Buffalo or Montreal, it's going to be a tough one. We're going to get to Pat Puff, and then coming up after Pat, we have our answer to Chicago, Anaheim, Columbus, and Buffalo.
It's a good one. It's a good answer.
Intrigues those 4. And we might even add a 5th team in there for fun in San Jose. So fans of those 5 teams, be ready as we bring in Patty. Patty, how you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Buy or sell, a presentation of Bet365. Hockey fans, check out Bet365's 3-goal early payout when your team goes up by 3 or in basketball by 15. You get paid. It is that simple. Download the app today. Must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. I'm curious. We've been running into a situation where we're seeing teams carry multiple goalies into the playoffs. So I'm curious to you guys, are you buying or selling that we're going to see teams start to carry more 1A, 1Bs than a starter and a backup? I mean, like Buffalo, Carolina with Bussy and Anderson, Colorado with Wedgwood and Blackwood. Are we starting to transition to 1A, 1Bs going into the playoffs, Greg's?
Well, Anderson's played every minute for Carolina, but he never used to because he'd always get injured. But I think it depends, Minnesota, Colorado. It depends on the team. There's not many legit number ones. Teams now look at it. They want their starter to not play too much. And we can debate if that's right or wrong. Florida won 2 with Bobrovsky. Tampa Bay won 2 with Vasilevsky. So I'm not sold that you have to have a rotation. You want to have 2 that you trust. No question. Even if it's your backup, you'd like to think, hey, if we're going to put my backup in, then he can win, kind of like Colorado in 22 when Kemper got the eye injury and they had a few games and their backup didn't play great, but he played well enough and helped them. But I'm not there yet to think it's going to be a regular occurrence because I think most teams, lots of times there's 2 things here at play. Number one, some of the guys aren't used to playing all the games. So I get why if you start 2 or 3 in a row all year long and now the playoffs come and I expect you start 15 or 16 or 18 in a row. Well, that's probably kind of stupid, especially when there's way more pressure on. So I can see why teams do it there. But if you got a starter who's good enough and he's healthy enough and he's used to playing all the time, then I'd still run with that.
I think it's situational. I think if you have, an Igor Shesterkin or Ilya Sorokin, like you run them for sure. And I think that some teams just sort of by necessity are going to evolve into having a 1 and a 1A type situation. So I think it all just depends on, I don't think, put it this way, I don't think it's going to be a deliberate tactic. I think it's more going to be a reflection of we don't have a number 1. So we're going to run out 2. But even then in the playoffs, whoever's hot's going. Like that's it. You're hot, keep going until you're not. Like you just look at what the Buffalo, there's how many different conversations have we had about the Buffalo Sabres in this Montreal series revolving around who starts next, right? Who? And now it's got to be Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. But then there have been moments where he's been hard to hit too. And it's like, oh no, you got to go to Alex Lyon. And then, to Greg's point earlier, it was 3-3 until they changed it to 3-4 after the game. So I think it's all situational. I don't think there's going to be one hard and fast rule. You got a great goalie, you got a hot goalie, ride him.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We'll kind of see how teams roll into that for next season. Now, buy or sell, you guys just talked about the rest versus rust debate, and I find we often use it as like a blanket statement for all players. But my question to you today is, do you think it is more of a factor for the players like Taylor Hall and Stankoven who've kind of found lightning in a bottle in the playoffs? Like sure, for a McKinnon, yeah, the time off is great. Some goalies, time off is great. But when you've kind of just started getting rolling in the playoffs, like the guys, like I said, Taylor Hall, is the rest going to be more of a factor for him, you think, Merrick?
There are some guys on that team, make no mistake about it, that don't want to stop playing hockey. Guys that are really feeling it. I just mentioned Sean Walker a couple of seconds ago. You think Sean Walker wanted to stop playing hockey? He's been incredible for the Carolina Hurricanes. To your point about the Stankoven line, I don't think they want to stop playing hockey. I understand the rest is the luxury. What is it? Sleep is a weapon, rest is a weapon. We've all heard it, and we understand how it can help your performance. But make no mistake about it, there are some guys that wanted to just keep playing. But just like we always say, if you're going to win the Stanley Cup, you need to have an easy series. No offense, Ottawa and Philadelphia, but Carolina just got 2. And the rest that comes along with it. And Jason's point earlier is the right one, which is every day that Freddie Anderson doesn't have to play is a day that he doesn't have to put on the hospital bracelet. So take those while you can get them. 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. That line, they had a week off between Series 1 and Series 2, and they picked right up where they left off. They got a boatload of confidence. Now they're rested. I think they'll be frothing at the mouth. I think they'll be fine to go. I think rest helps guys who are banged up. Other than that, it's the playoffs, man. You're in the conference final. I don't think their motivation's any less. I don't think their focus is going to be any less. So I think the break helps every player. You might have a little bit of rust for one period, timing wise, but then it comes back. And I don't think that their confidence as a trio is going to be any lower. Those guys are probably spending time in practice and, they're just talking about it and they just can't wait to get on the ice. So no, I think they'll be fine. When I look at it, usually the team that's the healthiest in a lot of cases, the team that wins, and rest is the biggest weapon in the playoffs. So I'd take it all day long if I'm Carolina.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that. And the last question I have for you guys, and it goes along with the Canadiens and Sabres. Hutson, 78 points in the regular season, 13 points in the playoffs. Dahlin, 74 points regular season, 13 points in the playoffs. And I know that the Norris has nothing to do with points necessarily. It's the best defenseman. But buy or sell, both Hutson and Dahlin have a Norris in their future, in their careers. What do you think, Greg's?
Not a guarantee, man. If you look at the history of the Norris, now there's been more winners lately, but there's lots of good defensemen around. So I'm going to sell. I don't know if they both, like, they'll be contenders, but like a lot has to go right to win the Norris, right? When you look at how many competitors are, Schaefer's coming in now, right? Like that guy, I think, is going to be really good for a long time. And then there's Mo Sider, and there's Evan Bouchard, and there's Makar, and there's Hughes, and there's Hudson. So they're all going to be in it. And as somebody who votes, I'll say it very bluntly, I give two shits what you've done in the past. It's all about that year. So your best year might not be, you might have your best year, but someone else might have their best year at the same time. So I'm going to say no, because the odds are it's hard to win it. And then when you win it, somebody else has to not necessarily have a down year, but like look at this year. Like lots of guys had really good years and only one of them is going to win. Like I think the top five guys, you could have made an argument for any of the top five to say, if you won, I'd be like, all right, I can see why you'd pick him number one, because the gap is that thin. And I think honestly, it's only going to get harder.
I could not agree more. And Schaefer's the big one. Problem with Hutson and the problem with Dahlin is they are skating in the Schaefer era. You know, hey, spot quiz, really quick, guys. How many Norris trophies has Miro Heiskanen won? Zero. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of really good defensemen out there. The problem is Kel McCarr is not going anywhere. Quinn Hughes isn't going anywhere. Zach Werenski's not going anywhere. And Schaefer has he just ran the table for the Calder. Like, he just ran the table for the Calder. This guy is good. You want the guy that there's going to be so many sort of, what's the best way? So many Brad Parks in this era. Guys that if they were playing in another era probably would have racked up Norris trophies. But, you know, Park just happened to be playing in an era of killers and when he's one of the best defensemen the game's ever seen. Wouldn't know it looking at the Norris, but he was. It's the Schaefer era is the final punctuation on this sentence. Well, I love Ras Dahlin, I love Lane Hutson, but it's to be too tough.
In a few years, Landon DuPont's coming in the league too, and that guy looks like an absolute stud.
Yep. Oh, yes, he does.
Well, there you go. There's some fantasy hockey advice.
We're already giving him Norris Trophy, giving DuPont Norris
Trophy. Not Norris Trophy, but just he'll be in the conversation. He's just another guy.
He's going to be awesome, right? He's fantastic. Yes, he's tremendous. You're 100% right.
No.
Yeah, no matter what anyone trades for you for Schaefer in your fantasy league, don't take it and draft DuPont. Remember that for your fantasy league. That's all I've got for you. Buy or sell, brought to you by Bet365.
Now, we look at a few things. So we asked about Chicago, Anaheim, Columbus, Buffalo. And I'm throwing in San Jose for fun, but they're not technically in the pool. They're just outside. But Anaheim, Chicago, Buffalo, and Columbus, they all have something in common. They all have a 2023 first-round draft pick who needs a contract extension, who's an RFA. Connor Bedard in Chicago, Leo Carlsson in Anaheim, Adam Fantilli in Columbus, and Benson in Buffalo. Now, Fantilli and Benson aren't in the category of a Bedard and Carlsson. I get it. So, but I think they're close. You know, like you look to date, Fantilli has the same amount of points as Carlsson, but if you ask me what's the next 7 years going to show, I'm like, hey. But I wouldn't sleep on Fantilli. I think Columbus might be the team here that ends up getting a really good bang for your buck. But I'm curious, Bedard and Carlsson, and what the next, because I'm sure both Chicago and Anaheim would like to get 8-year deals on these guys, right?
Yes.
That means you'd have them for 11 years, have them close until they're 30 years of age, 29, and they've played exceptionally well. What do you think those two get? And what's are they getting the same contract? Is somebody waiting to see what the other guy gets? How is this going to play out this summer?
Bedard will most likely set the marketplace here. If you're Karlsson, you want to negotiate off of that contract, and Adam Fantilli as well. I'll bracket Zach Benson. I want to get to him in a couple of seconds here. I think strategically, you let Bedard set the marketplace because the number is going to be big. Because not only is he a great player, but also he's the face of the franchise. Leo Carlsson is still not the face of the Anaheim Ducks. Adam Fantilli is not yet the face of the Columbus Blue Jackets. By the way, I do agree with you on Fantilli. We've seen a maturity in his game that is profound. Like when Fantilli started in the NHL, and this is common, he did everything at one speed, super fast. Everything he did was just like go, fast. And I know Columbus did a lot of work, like situation work, like, guy, you can't approach every single situation the exact same way. Maybe that did work at Michigan, but this is the NHL. You can't do that here. And Fantilli's gone a long way to change up his game, where he's not looking like a college player or a CHL player, just going at top speed for everything. He's mixed up his speed. He's changed his game to make it more friendly to an NHL style. And I'm with you. I think that Columbus may end up getting the bargain because he doesn't have the counting stats, right? He doesn't, and he's not, he hasn't, well, and Columbus hasn't really done anything either. So that weighs it down too. So I do think Columbus could get a bargain here on Adam Fantilli. As for Benson, I don't know, Griggs, whether he's going to be closer to being the next Corey Perry or the next Brad Marchand.
Probably Marchand, just based on size.
Marchand on size, for sure, but he's got dynamite hands. He really does. And like we talked about Rasmus Dahlin and getting under the skin of other people, of other players, like that's huge in his game. So it's going to be interesting to watch his career. Now that everyone's had a really good look at Zach Benson in the playoffs and wondered what he's going to turn into. Those are the two names that pop out to me. Maybe I'm missing one, Jason. If you know it, let me know. But is he Marchand or is he Corey Perry? Don't know yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Marchand just based on size alone. Pretty good. And hey, if he could have a Marchand career, that'd be unbelievable. Buffalo would be doing cartwheels over that. And I think I do think Benson and Fantilli. Even though Fantilli, if you look at their numbers straight up, him and his agent would probably look and say, okay, Leo Carlsson, 201 games, has 141 points. Adam Fantilli, 6 more goals, played 12 more games, has 1 fewer point. He's going to look and say, hey, my guy's the same. Now, I like Fantilli. I'm just not sure he's Leo Carlsson. Maybe I'm underrating him a little bit, but I'm fascinated to see the contracts of these pending, like these RFAs, young guys, last year of 8-year deals for all of them. Like if I'm Fantilli and if I am Zach Benson, I'm not going 8 years because I don't think I'm going to maximize. Whereas Bedard and Karlsson, I think, could, because they could command the $12 million range, right? So that's why it's two kind of different ones. But I'm curious about fans in Chicago and Anaheim and how close. I know you mentioned Bedard's likely to get more, and he might. And I like Bedard. Everybody forgets Bedard was having an unreal year until he got hurt this year, right? Yeah. Fantastic. He was top 4. He was right there. Like he's just because some people erred in grossly overvaluing him. He never did. He didn't ask for that. I never blame the player. Someone wants to make a ludicrous comparison to him and Connor McDavid. Like, give me a break. But I look at Karlsson and Bedard, different guys. But I'm telling you, man, watching Karlsson with his size and his speed, like, he is going to be, and he's got a little bit of bite to his game. That's like Anaheim. You know what? If they get it for less than Bedard, it'd be a really good deal. And I really like Bedard. I'm not saying it's going to be bad, but it might just be a better deal for Anaheim. And I'm curious to see kind of how Pat Verbeek is his first big RFA extension, and what's he going to look like with him? Well, I guess I shouldn't say that because they did get Jackson Lacombe already, so that was pretty big.
He had Troy Terry almost get to arbitration, right? Remember they got in the room, and then Anaheim blinked and went like, "Oh, okay, yeah, give you what you want." So I guess he has been through a tough one before, but not that the Troy Terry contract was going to significantly alter the fortunes of the Anaheim Ducks, but this one will. But given how much the cap is growing right now, if you're Carlson Bedard fan, why would you lock in? Why would you lock in now? Why would you lock in long term now? Not a chance.
So you think you go 5 years like Kane and those other guys did?
Why wouldn't you? Why would you jump out of this and jump right into a lot when you don't, all you know is the cap is going up huge, and it's probably going to continue that way for a while with the growth of this sport in the United States specifically. Why would you lock in at 8? Why would you lock in massive? Why would you do term? Why would you do term? Not a chance. No way. I wonder how many players start to look at this and just do like the Austin Matthews situation. No, I'm not going to ring the bell once. I'm going to ring it 3 times in my career on shorter deals. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. I think more players start to think that way. It's to me. Well, it's smart.
Dude, I don't disagree.
To me, it's smart.
I don't disagree. I've always argued 5 years is the max I would go. Look at the NBA. Look at their star players. They'll get paid all the time. Like I do tell more players who did short term would, and if their goal was to maximize it, sure. But even if it's for flexibility, although I really think as the cap keeps going up, the cap flexibility becomes a moot point for 85% of the teams because none of them are going to spend the cap. So of those 85%. So, but I'm very intrigued to see kind of where it goes. And then the other team I mentioned was Macklin Celebrini because he's eligible to sign an extension after July 1st. And right now, he's captain Canada. He was made the Olympic team. He's probably going to finish 4th in the Hart voting. He had an unreal year. Everything is coming up high for him. And I'm not saying it's not going to stay there, but if I was him, I sign the extension now because I'm at my maximum. Right now, I'm going to get the most because of the year I just had.
Yeah, look, there are some players and Celebrini's in that conversation where you're just because there's no negotiation, even though he's a restricted. There's not really a negotiation. Look what he's done to the team. Not look what he's done for not just on the ice, but off the ice again, off the ice as well. He has completely changed everything about the San Jose Sharks, everything about them, including attendance. Like the bottom line, like everything on the ice, in the conversation for the Hart Trophy, San Jose Sharks. I mean, there's brand experts that can talk to us a lot more profoundly than I can about what that player has meant for the value of that brand on the American sports landscape all of a sudden now. It's not a negotiation. It's like Connor McDavid. It's not a negotiation. You tell us what you want. Save us some dignity. But there's no negotiation here. There's not. He means too much. He means too much to that organization. There is no negotiation. What do you want?
That's probably valid. So, does he get 14? Does he get 15? See what he gets, but it's going to be a big number. And the RFAs, Jason Robertson's the older RFA because he's 1 year away from unrestricted free agents. He's just the younger RFAs. It is the last year of 8 years. If a guy wants to get it or not, they can. Say there's nothing wrong with a 7-year deal either. Don't get me wrong, but I'm kind of fat. I think that to me is going to be the bigger one. The free agent list. We talked about Alex Tuch off the hop. He might be the biggest name, and I like Alex Tuch a lot, but I think he cries out overpayment. Unfortunately, I really like Alex Tuch as a player, but I think he's somebody that's probably going to get overpaid in term and in dollars in free agency.
He wouldn't if the free agent class included the players that we thought it was going to include, but it just doesn't. Like everything has worked out splendidly here for Alex Tuch and his contract situation. Like if there was still, Kyle Connor's hitting free agency, Connor McDavid, They all signed. Yeah, and everybody that signed, I mean, Charlie Coyle's the latest. Everybody that signed, just like your Alex Tuch, like, all right, baby, I'm the belle of the ball come July 1st. Someone's going to pay me. Someone's going to pay me.
And before we go, the big announcement in Vancouver this week, the Sedins are co-presidents, and Ryan Johnson is the GM. It's interesting listening to a lot of their talk. I think it's clear they recognize that there's been a lot of dysfunction in the organization. You know, Ryan, they talked about how they dealt with the media, how they've dealt with their fans, how they've dealt in the community, and, you know, doing charitable events and so many different things. Those are things that you can control. Stuff outside of your control. You know what? If somebody wants to write an article you disagree with, who cares? But how you interact with the media is you can control it. And, you know, give them the message, say what you want. And they also seem to have a plan. They know they're going to be in a rebuild here. There's no surprise here. So I know that it's going to be some pain for Canucks fans as far as losing goes and everything, but at least there seems to be a direction and a plan and a united front from at least these three pretty important pieces in the organization.
And the whole presser was started off by Francesco Aquilini, who said a word that I never thought I would hear come out of his mouth. Rebuild. Did you ever think that you would hear that? Because first of all, I mean, you remember how Patrick Allvin twisted himself into a linguistic pretzel trying not to say rebuild, because knowing what that means above him to ownership. Because owners hear the word rebuild and as people, you know, turning down their season tickets and not renewing. That's what they hear when they hear rebuild. But here's Aquilini actually saying rebuild. Look, like we saw this with Montreal specifically, and that is just be honest with your fan base. Like Montreal went out there and said, okay, here's what we have to do. And we're going to, you know, drop down the bottom of the standings. And, you know, here's how we're going to have to do this. And we're going to try to be as disciplined and thoughtful and smart as we can along the way. And hopefully it takes us somewhere good. You know, Montreal fans, you're the best. Hang in there with us. We're going to get to somewhere good. You know what Montreal Canadiens fans did? They said, okay, thanks for being honest with us. That's what fans want. We all watch the games. We all know where various teams are at. You can't lie. You can't lie about where your team is actually at. You can't. So it was kind of refreshing to hear the owners say rebuild and talk about, you know, all the resources are available for Ryan and Henrik and Daniel in this rebuild. You know, if he was taking questions, I would hope that one of the initial questions would be, are you willing to take on bad contracts in order to pick up draft capital and or prospects? Essentially, are you willing just to spend, empty calorie money or spend money for empty calorie contracts? Because that's where owners kind of go like, oh, geez, that's a big one here. I find it interesting that throughout this entire process, it always felt like Ryan Johnson was going to be the guy at the end of it. But and maybe this was, and I don't want to say it was pro wrestling. I don't want to say like that, but there was a sort of element of show here. Like, we're going to do a big, huge, exhaustive search. I know the Canucks fans didn't like that, you know, Jim Rutherford was essentially, you know, hired with one phone call to Neil Glassberg. Like, I get it. I understand it. But it was interesting that Vancouver went this route when, for a lot of us, myself included, I thought that all roads led to RJ in Abbotsford. Now, the big decision is, what do you do with Elias Pettersson? And I find it interesting that there's no real connection, or none that I can see. Maybe you've seen one and I've missed it, between Elias Pettersson and the Sedins. I was making this point on Sekeres and Price. Like, the Sedins were tough players because they never changed their game. They got beaten up every game and they never changed. You kept coming back. You're not gonna beat us up. We're gonna keep coming back. Like, that duo was tough. Do they see that in Elias Pettersson? I don't think so. So what do you do there?
Come on. What can you do? Like, if you're going to trade him, you're going to trade him for 20 cents on the dollar, right? You're going to have to eat.
That's what
money.
I'm talking about. Well, that's it. Yeah, but that goes back to my point about Francesco Aquilini. When you say we're making everything available to them, does that include throwing Elias Pettersson away?
I guess, but how would that benefit you? Unless you just think he's terrible for your organization. But if not, because the biggest problem teams do in rebuilds is they go with youth, and then the youth just gets their teeth kicked in, and it asks Buffalo, and then it just doesn't. You need some players, you need some skill for your young guys to play with. Right now, Pettersson might never be a 100-point player again, but my God, like I'd like to think he could be a 70-point player, at some point. So I just wonder if him having the Sedins as a Swedish kid, now those guys are in contact. You know what? Half of it's between his ears. Like, he didn't forget how to shoot the damn puck, right? Like, it's not like his shot's gotten terrible. It hasn't slowed down. To me, his is right between the ears. And so I think Henrik and Daniel will have to be as much about just therapists as they are anything else with that guy.
But isn't there a party that says he's a professional? He's getting $11.5 million. He shouldn't have to have legends of the Vancouver Canucks babysitting him. There was a lot of talk in that press conference about preparation too, and preparing for a season. And that's a big. Oh, by the way, did you find it interesting as I did that there were two names that were mentioned that I never thought I would hear mentioned by someone from the Vancouver organization in an official press conference? Brian Burke and Mike Gillis were mentioned. Did you find that as interesting as, because if you go through the rank, you will. Brian always talks about this. You will not see a picture of Brian Burke. It's like they've erased him from Vancouver. He's had 2 tours, one on his own, one with Quay, but just bereft. Like, we all know the animosity, but still, like, get over yourself. It was just interesting. I never thought I would hear those names again at a Vancouver Canucks press conference. Maybe things are different. They certainly seemed it when the owner's talking about a rebuild and we're hearing Gillis and Burke referenced in a presser.
Wow.
My goodness.
It goes to me, the one thing that Vancouver has now is the Sedins epitomize, I think, class and respect in lots of ways on the ice when they played, but more so how they carry themselves, what they've done in the community. And they're beloved there for a variety of reasons. Now, over time, eventually you want to build a winner, but I think they will be given a long leash from the fans in Vancouver. They look and say, hey, man, and they're not the GM, they're the co-president, but they're going to oversee things. And, we'll see what type of moves Johnson makes and if it's right or wrong. But I think a lot of it comes from, hey, the Sedins had a lot of success in Vancouver and those guys were part of it. So I can see why they would be mentioned. And maybe it's one that, hey, it's at some point you got to bury the hatchet and you got to move forward. And you don't have to be chummy. And, they don't have to sing Kumbaya and have Brian Burke over for dinner, but you can say, okay, you know what? Let's bury the hatchet. It's no different than Burke and Lowe, right? Like, nice. And Brian's been involved in a lot of these. It's not like he's Mr. Innocent in any of this here. Like, let's be honest. There's
Brian?
a reason why. Yeah, right. So I think it's lots of people soften as you get a little bit older and you realize, you know what? Okay, what am I holding a grudge? Who knows? But I'm sure, you know what? When you have losing seasons, Jeff, you need different things to have fans come back and remember the good times. And I won't be surprised if maybe you see a Brian Burke night in the future because they're like, God, wow, we got to have our fans something, right? I wouldn't be surprised.
No, you're not wrong.
Now. I wouldn't be surprised.
You're not wrong. There was a really funny moment in that presser where Henrik and Daniel looked really confused about a question from the assembled media. As you mentioned, co-presidents of the Vancouver Canucks, and someone, I can't remember who it was, asked about, well, what if there's an issue where you two disagree? Who gets the final say? And we're so conditioned to think like, yeah, there's got to be someone on top where the buck stops here and we make it. And the Sedins kind of looked at him like, what are you talking about? Like, we're grown-ups. We have conversations. We talk through things. There's not like, and we arrive at a consensus between, like, it was almost like Henrik and Daniel were like, when have we ever not been able to come to a conclusion together on something? Because in North America, we're all just like, someone's got to be the ultimate voice and the last stop and all of it. Like the Sedin brothers, like, what are you talking about? Like they're like genuinely confused at the idea that someone could think that they couldn't arrive at a conclusion together. I've never seen that in an NHL press conference. And honestly, Greg's like, to be honest with you, it was kind of refreshing. It was kind of refreshing to see two guys who are like, we're mature adults. Like we can arrive at a conclusion together. You know, we don't need like the teacher and the student type dynamic. We're grown-ups here. There's grown-ups there. Good.
Yeah, no, very true. You have to. And you know what? You're allowed to disagree. I think too often in our society, I disagree with you, so we can't be friends now. Like it's so dumb.
That's the reality we have living now. It's stupid.
Jeffrey, enjoy Game 7. Who you picking?
Yeah, bud. Man, I love nothing more than a Saturday night in Montreal, so I'm going to take Habs in this one. What about you?
I'm taking the Sabres. I'll go with the home team wins for only the third time in the series. Sabres will win 3-2 on Monday night.
I'd be
either one's going to be hard pressed. Yes. That's the thing. Like
both great stories.
Yeah, there's not a team here that I'm like, God, I really don't like either one. I'm kind of like, hey, man, Buffalo, good for their fans, good for them. Montreal, same thing for their fans, and they get to the conference final, and both will be the underdog, and that's fine. But we'll see what happens on Monday night. That's the rundown brought to you by Bet365. Have a great Monday.
Hey, hockey fans, if you enjoyed that video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We have you covered for everything you need. Exclusive interviews on The Sheet with Jeff Merrick, all the latest hockey news on Daily Faceoff Live, and you can always get your morning started with Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohn on Morning Cup of Hockey. Don't miss a minute. Hit that subscribe button.